Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial. This is the sewing tutorial for my previous video. So if you're interested in knowing how to cut and sew a high waist palazzo pants with pocket, keep watching this video. In my previous video I showed you how to draft it from start to finish, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to cut, how to sew it, and how to iron a palazzo pants properly. So if you're interested, keep watching this video and let's get right into the video. If you followed from the last video, then you would already have your pattern. We are now going to use this pattern to cut out on a crepe fabric. For this, you're going to just need your tape, your scissors, and pins. Those are like the major things you would need. And the fabric I'm using is crepe fabric. It is not too thick and it is not too light. It's just perfect. It's going to have the perfect fall and texture we need. So from the bottom of the fabric, I'm leaving 1.5 inches allowance. This is going to be our hemming allowance. That's what you're going to fold under the trouser. And I'm leaving 1.5 inch because I want to have like enough to be able to fold in. Then I'm going to pin from that particular point where I marked. I'm just going to pin down our front pattern on the material that I've already put on a fold. And remember, we drafted our pocket in the last video, so I'm removing the pocket from this pattern because your pocket is going to be cut separately from your pattern. Now after pinning down, I just want you to take note of the allowance you are leaving when you're making a trouser. You don't need too much allowance. So you see the crotch area, 1/2 inch allowance is enough. It's going to be enough for both your weaving and your stitching together. 1/2 inch is enough. I don't usually advise too much allowance in trousers so that you not have a bulky effect. And then at the top of this pant, the place that is going to be joining to the waistband, 1/2 inch is also fine. Then at the side where you removed your pocket from, you know you're going to be joining your pockets to that side back, you're going to also leave 1/2 inch. Now the only places where you need up to 1 inch allowance is the sides of the trouser, the mid side seam, the mid seam and the side seam of the trouser. So that's going to serve as your allowance just in case you need to loosen it up later or anything like that. But every other place, 1/2 inch allowance is just perfect. When you're done, you can go ahead and cut out every part that you have marked just the way I'm doing, and then you want to notch the extra allowance. That's the allowance you left for the hem, which is for the lower part. That's the under of the trouser where you're going to fold at the end of the day. Just notch the extra allowance you left so that you just know which part is the extra of the trouser when you are folding or when you are hemming. Now we move to the back. The same thing we did for the front. You're going to mark 1.5 inch hem allowance under and then pin your pattern to that point. Make sure the exact allowance you are leaving for the hem for the front is the same thing you are leaving for the back, so that you will not have that case of one leg being longer than one leg when you are done. Now just like we did for the front, we are going to be leaving 1/2 inch allowance at the crotch area, but you see that zip part, that is your allowance already. There's no need to leave anything there. So when you cut your 1/2 inch allowance, just curve it and mark it out to the zip area just the way I'm doing. So you're leaving an allowance at just that part where the zipper is not going to be, because the zipper allowance already serves as an allowance for that part. Then at the two sides, you're going to leave 1 inch allowance. At the top part that is going to be joining to the waistband, you're also going to leave 1/2 inch allowance. And I actually forgot to remove my band from this back. You know, when we're drafting the pocket for the front, we removed 1 inch for band for the front part of the pant. So you're going to do the exact same thing for the back. Removing 1 inch from the waist part of the back so that I can replace it with a band. So I have to trim out the upper part now. I'm still leaving 1/2 inch allowance to join the band. I just wanted to correct that so you don't make the mistake. So make sure you do it on your pattern first before you start drafting on your fabric so you don't make the mistake. Now the next thing we're going to cut out is the pocket, and for the pocket I'm folding the fabric into two and then folding it again because I want to cut 2 pockets at the same time. Now just watch closely how I'm cutting this pocket. I'm leaving 1 inch allowance for the side of the pocket because it's going to be joining to the side of the pants, while I'm leaving 1/2 inch allowance for the under and for the top of the pocket. You know, the top of the pocket now is going to be joining with the waistband also, while the under is just going to be sewn. So top and bottom 1/2 inch, the side of the pocket 1 inch. And then when you are done, you want to open the pocket and cut out the exact way the pocket pattern is on your fabric, and then make sure you do the same thing for the other side. When you are doing this, make sure you don't mix the patterns with each other, just the way I'm doing. Make sure you don't mix them with each other. Make sure the left, you are cutting the left to the left and you're cutting the right correctly, so you don't have like 2 pockets that look the same, especially if the front and back of your fabric is very noticeable. So when we are done with this, next thing we want to do is cut out the band for this trouser, and I'm just using my waist round divided by 2 is 12 inches, and I'm adding 1 inch allowance for sewing, which is that's the 1 inch allowance is going to join our zipper at the back, so that makes it 13 inches. And I'm just going to fold. Now for the width, for how wide the pocket is going to be, you know, the pocket now is 1 inch wide, but on fold now it's going to be 2 inches, and then I'm adding extra I'm going to use to fold in the band. So at the end of the day, I am adding 3.5 inches. So if you're going to be making use of 1 inch band for your trouser, then when you are cutting, cut at least 3.5 inches to ensure that you can fold in your band well and give it that neat finishing. After doing this, I just cut it out, and I'm just measuring again to make sure it's correct. I'm cutting out 13 inches, which is 12 inches, half of my waist round, and then I am adding 1 inch for zipper allowance in case you didn't understand. And I'm going ahead to notch the midpoint of the band, so it will be easy for us to just connect the midpoint to the midpoint of the trouser when we are joining. Now the next thing we'll do is to join the pocket to the front part of this trouser, and just watch how I'm joining it so you don't make any mistake. You know, the pocket has the left part and the right part, so the right part you're going to join it to the right part of the front piece. Now once you place your pocket under, you just remove it from the under, and you see where the part that is cut out from the pocket, you are going to place it on the part you're supposed to fix the pocket at the front and pin down. Do the same thing for the other side. Just bring it to the front, place that part that is cut out on the point where you want to fix, and pin it down. Very simple. So you're just going to go and join this part now with 1/2 inch. Remember, it's 1/2 inch allowance we left. And then for the back, if you're joining the two parts of the back together, you're just joining, and you stop at where that zipper allowance starts from. You're going to join with 1/2 inch. Now after doing this, bring back your front piece with the pocket, go ahead and notch that place you have sewn together so that it can relax well, and then turn it over. Now you're going to top stitch. You are going to top stitch on the pocket part, so make sure the allowance under is facing towards the pocket area, and then you top stitch on top. When you do that, this is what the pocket is going to be looking like. You can now take the pocket in and pin down this point I'm holding to the pocket, so pin it down together. At this point I actually advise you to weave before you start sewing your trouser. My weaving machine wasn't at easy reach. I was hurrying to make this outfit because this was literally Sunday morning, but I just usually advise that before you sew your trouser, before you make your pants, make sure you just weave every part before you start sewing. It looks neat and easier. So for this now, we're going to take it to the machine and join the under, that's the lower part of the pocket, together, just to make sure the pocket is closed. Then when you are done, go ahead and give it a good press. The secret to making very flattering pants is ironing. Ironing is one big secret I feel like people overlook when making pants. So iron every step. When you're done with the pocket, now iron it. See how flat and cute it's looking already once we've ironed. Do the same thing for both sides. We can now join the two parts of the front pieces together at the crotch area. Remember, we left 1/2 inch, so we're going to sew in by 1/2 inch, but you're going to pin down first. You're going to pin down the top part, pin down the bottom part, and then the middle. Make sure it is equal. The moment you have any unequal measurement when you're making your pant, that's where the problem begins. So make sure when you pin down it is equal, and then sew with the exact allowance you left. So for this crotch area, we're going to join it by 1/2 inch, and when we are done, we're going to bring it back to iron. Like I said before, ironing is the foundation of making great pants. So as you sew, make sure you iron. Don't be in a hurry. When you are ironing the crotch area, you open it up and iron from inside. When you are done, you come out and iron from outside. Now we are now going to join the back and the front of this pant together. For the back area, you can see that we joined just to the zip part, so make sure that's what you do when you are joining that together. Now what we are going to do is that this crotch area, that line, that joining, we're going to make sure it aligns with the front. So the back and front must align. So you put it together and pin down, and then you go to the hem of the trouser, that's the lower part, and then pin down. Make sure it is equal, and then you can pin down at the middle, maybe 2 places at the middle or 3 places, depends on how much you want to hold it together. And you do the exact same thing for the other side. You pin the hem and then pin at the middle. Make sure it is equal. Now you can take it to your machine and sew. And remember, when you are sewing, 1 inch allowance that you left is what you are going to sew with. So after that, this is what it's going to look like after sewing. Now you can go ahead and remove your pins and iron again. Yes, I'm going to finish people with ironing in this video. So what you want to do is open it up and iron. You know, I said it before that it is better to weave all your pieces before you start sewing so that you will have a neater finishing. That's what I would advise you to do. Don't be like me. So when you open up an iron, make sure you open up to the crotch area and to the other part of the pant. After you are done with it, you can go to the front and also do the same thing. The next part I'll be joining are the sides of the trouser. So just like we did for the other part, you're going to pin down the upper part, you're going to pin down the hem part, and then you pin down the middle. We are doing this to ensure that, you know, when you are sewing your trousers and you start sewing and then you see that one leg is longer than one, this method is going to eliminate all that rubbish. So pin down the upper part, pin down the lower part, and pin at the middle. Then take it to your machine and sew on 1 inch allowance that you left. Nothing less, nothing more. After you have sewn it together, we are now going to iron again. I hope you are not tired of the ironing, because that is what we are going to be doing to the end of this video. So we're going to iron again. You're going to open it up just like you did for the other part and iron. But when you get to the hip area, you can't just iron because you're going to squeeze it. You're going to squeeze other parts. So if you have bust ham or any hard thing you can put at the hip area, put it in and iron it flat, and do it for both legs. Then you can turn it inside out, and this is what you have. Our trouser is almost ready. Next thing we're going to do is join our band. And remember the midpoint of the band where we notched. We are going to join that midpoint to the midpoint of the front of this pant, and then you're just going to pin the sides and pin it till the end. But when you're pinning the sides, make sure you open up the seams and pin, so that when you are sewing the band to the trouser, that seam part is going to be open and it's not going to like fold. So you can go ahead now and join the band to the trouser with 1/2 inch. When you have done that, this is what it's going to look like, and I'm going to show you how to neatly fold in this band so you are not going to see like any seam on the outside. So since our band, so normally, you know, I would have told you to open and iron, but this band is the only place you don't open and iron because we are trying to hide that inseam of the band. So what I would advise you to do is the front of the band now is where you're going to open up and iron well, because when we are sewing, we want to see the seam well when we are sewing. Now next thing you want to do is measure 1 inch, which is going to be for our band, and fold it in and pin. So you're going to be pinning the upper part. We're just trying to take away whatever we're going to have for the front of this band, so we'll know what we have left to fold in the band on the inside. That's what this step is for. It's nothing serious. So just pin down, measure it on every part, measure it at the middle, at the sides, your 1 inch band allowance, and then just pin down. So after you have done this, on the inside, the remaining part, you've already pinned down your 1 inch band, so the extra you have inside, you're going to fold it and pin down. And when you are folding, make sure the stitch is not showing. Make sure when you are folding, your folding is covering the stitch, and then you can pin down. So after you pin down, you can sew, but I usually advise, if you have hem gum, before you take it to your machine and sew, especially if you're a beginner, you want to iron and just gum that part together. Make sure it is like fixed together so that when you are sewing, you're not going to have any issue. So now I'm using hem gum to join the fold to the trouser. I'm using hem gum to fold the band. I hope you understand. So after that, I'm going to go to my machine and sew. And let me show you, when you are sewing on your machine, open it up the way I'm doing now. Open it up, make sure you see the stitch and sew on top. What we are trying to do is to make sure that thread doesn't show on our band when we are done. So open it up very well and then sew. So when you are done, this is what it should look like. If you get it and not make any mistake, this is what the inside will look like, this is what the outside would look like. Very neat. If you do it well, it will even be neater than my own. Now you can go ahead and fix your zip. So you're going to remove your 1 inch for zip allowance, or you can just remeasure the waist of your trouser to make sure you are getting your correct waist measurement, and just mark out your 1 inch allowance for your zip. When you have marked it out, some people like to sew first then loosen so that they can see where to fix their zip and avoid any bulge, but I just like to iron. The iron mark or the iron line is enough for me to just fix the zip on it. So what I'm doing is, after calculating my 1 inch for zip allowance, I fold it and I iron so that the mark can be very visible for me to fix my zip. So now it is on this ironing mark, or this iron mark, I would fix my zip. I would pin the zip down and fix. like I said before, if you weave before you start doing all these things, you will not be seeing all this extra seam and all these rough seams. Everything is going to be neat, so make sure you weave before you start. After sewing, you pin down the other part of the zip and you sew also. This is what it's going to look like when you are done. Very neat, very, very neat. You're not going to have any issue of bulging zip or things like that. You can go ahead and also iron for two-factor authentication, just to make sure it is flat and neat. Now for this part, you can just fold it and sew on the band to hold the zip part together. Then if you want to make the inside of your zip neat, what you want to do is that cut out the extra zip, then cut out the middle, that's the zipper part, and just like I'm doing, fold it, use it to wrap each other. Wrap it like you're wrapping fufu. Wrap each other and just sew on top. So you're just trying to cover up that place just to make it look fine. I either do this or I just use an extra fabric to cover that zip area, whichever one, it's fine. Now the last part of this outfit we're going to be doing is the hem. Remember, we left 1.5 inch for the hem allowance, so when you are folding in, make sure it is 1.5 inch you are using. And I'm just going to be using hem gum to fold in my hem allowance. Oh, did people see what I did there? But I'm going to use my hem gum to fold in my hem allowance and iron. I'll be doing this for both legs. And if you do this, it's going to come out really, really beautiful. If you want to go ahead and still sew on top, you can. But just make sure it is the exact thread you are using to ensure that it is neat. Now that we have done this, the next thing we'll do is ironing. I'm going to show you how to iron your trousers properly. And while you are ironing, make sure you I know you did everything right, but make sure you iron and put your legs, the two legs together, and make sure they are equal. If you make pants and the legs are not equal, that's number one error. So iron it one leg, iron. So iron it leg by leg. And if you want to put like gaiters, on it, you can go ahead and put gaiter. Just make sure you press it really well. So this is what it looks like. This is what the finished product looks like. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to share this video to others. Give this video a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and drop a lovely comment. Let me know if it's something you are going to try, if you've ever tried this method, and if you would try this method. See you in my next video. Until then, keep winning.